Well, thank you for your attention. That's what it says here. But I'm grateful that I'm having the opportunity to speak to you about something that is close to my heart. And I will be speaking to you after this afternoon about stormwater pollution prevention planning, which I want to set in the context of integrated stormwater management. And I really wanted to set that in the wider context of a program that at the moment, or that has been going on in the United States since 2007, which I think I would want to stimulate that we copy that or elements of it. And that is a program that goes by the unholy name of NPDES, which is short for National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. And that came about when in the 90s people started to recognize that although the Clean Water Act of 1970 started to tackle pollution, and by 1990 they had more or less dealt with all of the what they call end-of-pipe pollution, that is pollution emanating from discharges of factories and sewage treatment plants, that there still was an enormous amount of pollution around. And they call that dispersed pollution. That is pollution that comes from all over the place and is carried by stormwater. And the conclusion was reached, look, we can't deal with cleaning up the environment from pollutants if we only think in terms of polluting from the end of pipes. And I call it a cultural revolution was enacted to deal with the whole approach of how we deal with stormwater. That is the genesis of the NPDES. First it started off as a voluntary thing that people were asked to comply with, and it was later made a condition of certain grants from the federal government that if you wanted to get federal money for a project, that the project had to follow these NPDES Phase 2 guidelines. The term Phase 2 came in later when it became a nationwide thing. And what, in essence, it all boils down to is that you control the movement of pollutants, starting by controlling the whole hydrological regime, to turn back the clock to where we were before man started interfering with the environment. As you know, the way we tend to develop, we tend to focus on drainage to deal with our flood problem, as in getting rid of stormwater. And we totally ignore that when you drain water away, focusing entirely on how to get rid of it, the result is that you don't solve the problem, you just move it downstream and you make it worse. So we've been following a policy of gradually increasing discharges in response to the storms that occur. Even if the storms were not to change, we have adopted a development model of making the discharges worse. Now, the Drainage Division has adopted part of the solution since a few years in insisting that your design discharge after development and the design discharge tends to be the discharge in response to the 25-year storm, that should be not exceed the response to the same storm prior to development. That is a step in the right direction, but we need to go much further, and the whole NPDES program starts with we need to maintain the hydrological regime as it was. At least we can't do anything about the storms, but we should engineer a situation that the response to the design storms does not get worse. Now, maybe that is still too optimistic, because as Professor Ewoud said, we can, and several other speakers, we can expect that the storms are going to get worse. So maybe we should actually be insisting that the response to our design storms become less than they were in the pre-development situation. Another aspect that we are ignoring is the whole environmental consequences of what happens to storm runoff. And another aspect that I want to urge changing is that we design for a design storm. How do we arrive at this design storm? We have kind of assumed that there's an optimum cost for a given storm. That tends to be, according to Canadian policy, for the urban areas, the 1 in 25-year storm of the major infrastructure, and for the minor infrastructure, the 10-year storm. Thinking being that it's not worth your while to design for an extreme storm, because that happens so infrequently that it's a waste of money to prepare for that. And that the larger your capacity to accommodate storms is, the more, of course, that your infrastructure costs will be. So the belief is that we are designing for the optimum, the economic optimum. I think at this point, that is about everything that I want to say. I want to say more this afternoon, but let me stop there.